Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff, brought to you by Manscaped. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm excited for this one. One I've been looking forward to.
Where did you find this?
This one. So, Tom, you know what? I was trying to think of some great story here for, it was a fan requested, or, I was reading through some, best matches or something like that. Tom, I have no clue where I found this match, but it was high ranked. I'm not going to lie to our fans. I'm not going to lie to you. It was highly ranked. I found it somewhere and it was on our list, and it worked because of when this match happened and in December. And I was looking at, different December matches, and this is where we ended up. And so I'm excited to cover it no matter what, because it's got some people that we don't talk about all the time. So I'm super excited to do that and get into it. I have no other reason other than that. I'm not going to bullshit you. We're covering it because we're covering it.
Yeah. In this era, WCW had some sneaky good matches and some sneaky good tag matches. So I'm pumped to cover this one. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, it's a little different, but that's okay. Let's do it.
All right, let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, dude. Starrcade 92, obviously big show on the WCW calendar. They're at the Omni in Atlanta, and not a great show. Okay? No. Not a great show with a real dud ending. So Van Hammer and Danny Spivey are going to win a lethal lottery tag match against Johnny B. Bad and Cactus Jack. We have another one of those with Vader and Dustin Rhodes defeating, pardon my pronunciation, Kensuke Sasuke.
Yeah.
Sasuke and the Barbarian. Another one of these matches, Great Muta and Barry Windham defeating Brian Pillman and Too Cold Scorpio.
Yep.
So then we get Steve Williams and Sting defeating Jushin Thunder Liger and Eric Watts. We move over to a NWA World Heavyweight Championship of Masahiro Chono defeating the Great Muta by submission. Then we get Ron Simmons defeating Steve Williams by DQ to retain his WCW World Heavyweight title. Then in a NWA and WCW World Tag Team Championship match, we get the match we're going to cover: Shane Douglas, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Barry Windham and Brian Pillman. Then in the semi-main event, Sting defeating Big Van Vader in the finals of the King of Cable tournament. Okay. Then we had Battle Bowl 2, which apparently sucked. And that was the Great Muta last eliminating Barry Windham. So couple guys working multiple shows, multiple matches. 3 highly rated matches on this show. The 2 tag matches of that Barry Windham was in, ironically, and then the Sting Vader match. But again, added on a dud. Not a huge crowd. You're going to see very poorly lit, very tough to follow. It just the production quality of this versus WWF even back then, very, very different. I mean, go watch Survivor Series 92, which I just did. Don't ask why, Jeff. Way better quality show than the Starrcade 92, just in terms of the production values. So storyline standpoint, how do we get to this crazy shit?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one here. All the kind of players having some different storylines and stuff like that. Guys were actually working together and then they weren't. So we got a little bit of time here. So I'm going to go through each one. So we got Barry Windham on this one. actually teaming with Dustin Rhodes. They beat Steve Williams and Terry Gordy. It was a unified WCW World Tag Team Championship and the NWA World Tag Team Championship. Weird, it's not recognized. It's the whole thing. Doesn't matter. But that match aired. So they actually held the belts for about 2 months, and then they lost them actually to Steamboat and Shane Douglas. There was a match. There was actually Clash of Champions 21. During this match, we had Windham, turning on Dusty Rhodes. After the match, it was actually Rhodes refusing to pin Steamboat. There was a low blow. It was just kind of a little crazy. But then after that, you had Windham teaming with Pillman. So we got now we get to this tag team, who also turned heel. And so these guys kind of working together on that. So at the time here, you had Pillman he had a short stint as the light heavyweight champion in WCW in October 91 and February 92. Kind of having that a little bit, having some matches, just some, I say, run of the mill, well, not run of the mill, but, just kind of basic running through storyline. Brad Armstrong, Scotty Flamingo, Jushin Thunder Liger. I'd never call that run of the mill, but that's, what it is. So him as well, too, turning heel and dropping the WCW light heavyweight title because of that with the heel turn. And then, like we said, forming the tag team with Barry Windham. So Steamboat, though, on this one, it was actually, you had November 19th, this Clash of Champions. This would have been 17 in 1991. Steamboat, he was actually returned to WCW as the surprise team partner of Dusty Rhodes. Like we said, substituting for an injured Barry Windham at the time. So you had Steamboat and Rhodes defeating the Enforcers at the time, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko, of course. They actually won the tag team champions. It was actually his first tag team title championship under WCW. Lost the titles, though, Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton, who was his partner at the time in early January. And then Steamboat feuding with Dangerous Alliance as well, too. Just they actually had, this was interesting here. I did not realize this at the time, so I started kind of reading up on this a little bit more. This match, and so it was the Steamboat and Dangerous Alliance match. It was actually a War Games match at Wrestle War. This was a 5-star match from Meltzer. And so, which was interesting. So I added that one to the list for us so that we have that as well too. And, having, going against Rick Rude as well too, for his United States Heavyweight Championship, them having a title Iron Man match at Beach Blast, which actually Steamboat won. And so, him just kind of, dealing with that a little bit, just kind of out there having, good matches, things like that. Then you had Douglas, actually, Shane Douglas coming back to WCW in September 1992. A fan favorite, as always, he defeated Super Invader in his return match. And then he had a match against Brian Pillman, which is where they then began their rivalry. And so he had a pay-per-view match. It was Halloween Havoc, where he actually teamed with Tom Zenk and Johnny Gunn to compete against Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Michael Hayes. And so quite the combination there. And so while he was feuding with Pillman, though, and this is Shane Douglas, this is when he formed his tag team with Ricky Steamboat. They actually had a match. It was October 24th episode of Worldwide. He was taking on Brian Pillman and Steve Austin. This was, of course, before the Hollywood Blondes, but having that match as well, too. And then kind of getting into like this feud, like we said, with Dusty Rhodes and Barry Windham and the swapping and things like that, and that kind of playing out. And so really just kind of a little bit of back and forth here. These guys working together, not working together. Just you figure they were, really just, I say at the time, not necessarily going through the motions, but just, having a bunch of different matches with who was, the best at the card and things like that at the time. And so it made sense to kind of tag some of these guys off as well, too. So you had that. And then you get to this match, Barry Windham, Brian Pillman, and Steamboat and Shane versus Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas. So there you go.
Man, some of the shit they did in this era was really, really tough to follow.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. And so, yeah, because even like, who was with who in the feuds, and it just, it was kind of all over the board.
All right, lot to cover. You ready to get into this?
Of course, yeah.
Starrcade 92, we're at the 1 hour and 37 minute mark. 1 hour, 37 minute mark, Starrcade 92. Jeff, are you ready?
Let's do this, my friend.
All right, it's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I'm with you. Lights, I feel like it's a bad camera. Like, yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Don't know. I just it's amazing. Again, go watch Survivor Series 92, Rumble 93. It's a pretty substantial difference.
Yeah, look at a young Shane Douglas. Everybody's young. Windham, giant, just a huge man.
Yeah, you don't think of him as being big, but he really is.
He's standing tall. He's at the back corner and standing tall above everybody else from there. Like, yeah. Guys just kind of showing off a little bit now, kind of, playing with the ropes, just finessing it a little bit. That's okay.
So, as much as I thought the show sucked as I read about it, it actually, had 67.5% thumbs up, only 27% thumbs down.
Yeah. And there was actually, the early parts of this card were garbage. And the final match was garbage, but I actually did add that Sting Vader match to our card or our list of matches, well, too, because oddly enough, at least by Meltzer, this match was ranked high, which we'll talk about, but that match was actually ranked even higher than this one, which
I was and the readers preferred this match, but both are good. Hey, do me a favor. What's your timestamp right now?
My timestamp, of course, I'm at 138, 36, 37, 38, 39. Yep. Yeah, 138, 41, 42, 43.
Okay, we're good now.
Okay, we're good. So there we go. We got
had a slight little hiccup there to start.
Yeah, last few weeks we've had technical issues.
Yeah,
okay,
I watch. I have the big monitor for my computer, so I'm watching on my computer. But it's never an issue on Peacock, but sometimes on the computer I have some issues.
I want to start real quick before we get into it, Tom. I do want to shout out. We hadn't talked about her. You and I were able to get together for dinner not too long ago. And I want to shout out the girl that was bussing tables that overheard us having a conversation at dinner about wrestling. And she actually stopped bussing tables to ask us if we were talking about wrestling and what we did. And yeah.
You're actually not making the story. The story's actually even better than the way you sold it.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's take a step back here. Tom and Jeff are at a nice steakhouse.
Yes.
Okay.
White linen. Yeah.
No, certainly not the best dressed guys at this place, but acceptable. Okay. But we're just yakking it up about pro wrestling for probably 2 hours.
We were there for about 3 hours.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting next to like a couple that's, minding their own business. And, Jeff and I are breaking down like, why Drew McIntyre's not getting used well enough. I mean, it was really something. And so later on, this woman's cleaning the table next to us and she's like, wait,
young. She's probably in her early 20s.
We're like,
her early 20s. She couldn't have been that old. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, and we're like, hold on, it gets better. We have a podcast together.
Yep. And she was blown away. And she wanted to start one. Yeah.
I mean, there may not be another conversation about professional wrestling for 10 years in that restaurant. Okay.
Yep.
But that's okay.
You and I held it down that night. She was a good sport about it. And then she came back, remember, too. And she's like, you could tell she wanted to ask us a bunch of questions. So as I like to say, bless her heart. Like, it was just funny, the situation we were in that night. It was, let's say, Tom and I, when we get together in real life, this is just how it is. We talk wrestling all the time. And so it's no different than when we're on this show. And so shout out to her. I hope she started her podcast. She makes it big just like us because we want that for everybody. So, all right. So go ahead.
I was going to say, did you see when they were on the outside, like the floor is covered by like plywood?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen cement, I've seen mats. I can't say I've ever seen plywood on floors before.
So you got Windham towering over Steamboat at this point.
He's just a big son of a bitch, huh?
How big is he?
I'm gonna look it up.
Thank you. Yeah. He's got, I'm going to say 7'4", maybe 7'5".
He's not 7'4".
Look it up, man.
Get out of here.
Hey,
okay,
you never.
I'll take the under. I'll take 6'9". He's 7'4". 6'5", 275.
No, he's not 6'5". There's no way. That man is at least 7 feet. Like,
are you saying Wikipedia is wrong?
Yeah, I am. You never know. What was he built?
Okay, I got 6'5" on Wikipedia. On prowrestling.fandom.com, I got 6'7".
I want the WWE, build from.
Coming in at 7 feet tall, 380 pounds from Sweetwater, Texas.
That's right. Places beyond. Yeah, or places unknown. Yep. That's what I want. So you got him just kind of locked up in the ring at this point. Kind of getting into it. You got Shane with the side headlock on Windham. Yep. So Tom, I know you had some AEW stuff to discuss, Tom. Go for it.
Yeah, I had a couple things for you. Let me ask you this question. And I don't mean this as a knock, but do belts even matter in AEW? And what I mean by that is I guess what I was thinking about is like Hangman's champion, great moment, really good build, kind of a 12 plus month storyline, arguably multi-year storyline because at the first pay-per-view, he lost to Jericho, and I was there. I thought he was going to win. Mm-hmm. So anyways, my point is I'm like, and it's a great moment. I'm glad he's champion. But if Punk never wins the title, does it matter? Does it matter if Bryan? I mean, these guys can't. I mean, they're not all going to be champions, right? Like, is Jericho going to be champion again? Is Omega going to be champion again? Is Bryan ever going to be champion? Is Cage ever going to be champion? Is Punk ever going to be champion? Mox, I mean, is he ever going to get it again? Like, not everyone's going to be a champion. Does it matter? Does it matter who any of these champions are? Or is AEW just almost like kind of like a UFC where it's like we just want to see really good matchups with good storylines and no one really gives a shit about the belts? I mean, nobody gives a shit about the belts in WWE, but for completely different reasons.
Right.
That's my point in theory. I'm curious what you think of that.
I actually think so. I think AEW does a far better job of not everything has to be for the belt. And
exactly.
I think that the belt itself is not as important as the storylines they're telling. This, the easiest example to kind of, shoot WWE in the foot here is, they had to put the belt on the feed. Did he ever? You could still be, to this day.
God, that made no sense.
You could still be building with him to not have him have the belt. Like, he could still be an attraction, and now he's off making like a horror movie and not in wrestling. And so I think, though, that to your point about like there's actually the stakes for the belt aren't as big a deal, but they do a better job of telling the story to get to the belt. And so, because even though I remember like Miro losing to Sammy Guevara, Omega losing to Hangman, like I actually remember
Young Bucks losing.
Yep. I remember those
when
matches.
Britain finally loses her title, that's going to mean something.
And because right now, like this was an article, it was actually not a wrestling. I think it was like Deadspin or somebody else was like writing about Roman Reigns. In the next 365 days, like even if you say like to not this upcoming even say 18 months or 16 months, nobody is going to beat Roman before the LA Hollywood WrestleMania. I truly think he's going to have that title for the next 18 months.
I'd keep that title on him. Look, let me say this. I'd rather you keep that title on him a year too long than take it off him too soon.
That's a great, that's a thought right there.
Okay.
And I don't disagree with you.
And oh, wow. And if you want Lesnar to have a title, then you just, you give a storyline reason why Reigns will never give him another shot. And then he beats Big E, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you can, if someone needs to be champion, make him the champion on Raw, not on SmackDown. Like, you want to give Edge one more title run? Great. Give him the Raw title. You want Lesnar to have the title? Great. You want to get Big E over? I mean, whatever. I'm totally cool with. Man, there's some really good bumps.
That was a big bump. Yeah.
So that's what I think. I mean, I'm fine, playing hot potato a little bit on the Raw title so that you can get some guys' titles. I think Rollins, I think he may have another reign in him sooner than later. But again, I just, that SmackDown, I would keep that title on him as long as possible.
What's the old saying? Like, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like, I would be okay. Like Omega losing to Hangman, And Omega's hurt. We know that. Like, he's actually really, like, it seems like he's really dealing with some stuff. I read, like, he's got like vertigo and shit, which I can't imagine, like, dealing with that and like wrestling a 30-minute match. But you know what? Let him be gone for a year. Let him go and heal up, and then have him come back, and the pop will be gigantic. Yep. And just like, like seasons and stuff like that, you know what? We don't need to book Omega for 8 to 10 months. That's fine. There's more than enough people to get over and to give a shot with him out. Same with like the Bucks. Like, even like there isn't a ton of like, them taking on, like the Lucha Bros, like, every pay-per-view. I'm fine with that. It doesn't ever need a belt. It's going to be a great match every single time. And I'd watch that. And, and when it comes time, maybe they need to put somebody over. Like, even the Bucks did put Hangman over after his match, and the kind of little nod and things like that, which that's just very subtle storytelling, which is incredible.
Fantastic.
Right. And so if you're doing that type of stuff, when it comes time for Omega to come back, maybe you give him another run with the, that was part of what they were saying, like the long-term storytelling. Like, Hangman's story was, a year and a half long between, getting kicked out of being the Elite and all this other stuff. And now you got, Daniel Bryan turning heel, and like, Hangman, like all these other people, like, that somebody else is going to say, hey, somebody else could show up next week and say, I'm a contender. And there's probably 3 or 4 guys that I think would legitimately have a case to say, I'm a number 1 contender against Hangman Page. Or Danielson earned it, but like that, could potentially work a storyline with them, and none of them are Kenny Omega. And so, I think to put a bow on your point A here, I think they do a better job with the booking of their belts. And do they necessarily mean more than WWE? No, but like they book it in a way that actually does make you care about, like, that there is a belt in a match, and it is not a vital part of the story.
Yeah. And I guess my statement was more of just the fact that, like, some of these guys don't need the title, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it feels like anything WWE is doing without the titles pretty much almost always sucks, right? Like, the Rollins Edge thing was like an exception. Same with Orton Edge. But again, there's your point, that a guy like Edge doesn't need the title to be interesting. I like the Lashley Goldberg stuff. I thought it actually was pretty good, but but the first one had the title in it. So, again, I think that they've done a great job, again, of making everything mean something, not just the titles. But the titles mean something. They're not flipping them that often, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Did you have a second point there? I thought you were.
No, that's it.
It's
a really.
Yeah, I know. So we got a chair shot now. We got Windham is selling the shit out of some of this stuff. It looks like he's really getting. And you're right. Like, they're on like plywood. Like, that is not like a ring mats at all. Like, they're kicking the crap out of each other.
Look at that table by the ring. No one's going through that.
Yeah, just a little tiny that. And if they are, that is not a work table. That's for sure. So you got Steamboat. Steamboat has not even actually officially been in this match, I don't think. It's been Douglas is really just getting his ass kicked. Like, Steamboat's been involved a little bit. He's been in the ring, but Shane is really taking the shots here for this one. Pillman going for 2 quick covers. Pillman looks great too. Boy, look at him. Look at the hair. Just fantastic. Kind of dueling.
Pillman Jr., is he hurt right now?
I know he was dealing with I saw some family and personal things going on.
Oh, okay.
So his phone got stolen or something like that. It was something crazy. Yeah. And so you almost feel for him. He lost a lot of, like, he had everything on his phone and it got stolen or something like was it the electronic festival or something? He really put out a reward for it and everything. Really feel for the guy. Great friend of the podcast as well too. And so,
I totally missed it.
Yeah, all around great, just opportunity for him too. Yeah. Windham up on the top rope now. Boy, coming down on Douglas. They are kicking the crap out of Douglas, doing a great job of selling here as well, too.
Yeah, so Steamboat has not been in it at all?
I don't think, if he has, it's been briefly. But it's been probably about 10 minutes of Shane Douglas getting his ass kicked at this point. So, with Shane Douglas looking great.
Have you listened to Flair's new podcast yet?
I have not listened to Flair's new podcast. I was behind for a while there. I finally watched the steroid trial episode and just a couple weeks ago, and finally got caught up on some of that stuff. So yeah,
I'm so far behind on podcasts right now.
Yeah, at this point, it's hard. I've actually, I started kind of stopped listening to some and kind of picked up. Tis the season, I'm not in the car as much anymore besides doing from, my shoot job. And so, it's just, maybe with the holidays and travel, we'll see what happens here. But even then, it's only, it's not that long in the car. Like I can maybe get in one episode of, a 4-hour episode. It's just tough. Great kind of splash there from Pillman.
Yeah. Even the ring looks shitty. You can see the mat. It's in rows.
Yeah. And this is just it speaks to what these guys were dealing with and kind of earning their stripes, I guess. Yeah. Hardest part of the ring would have actually been the hardest part of the ring back then. So, an actual, built on it. Yeah.
Well, this is right. I mean, this is kind of the end of WCW just being a dark and dingy, I mean, it started to add some color and production values and get better here. I mean, before you know it, you're going to have, Hogan in and stuff. But yeah, this is still that. I mean, if you just turned this show on and I told you it was 1988, you'd believe it.
So here's an interesting. We've got the blacked out arena too, and so I've got an interesting attendance statistic for you.
They're really
as well.
building to Douglas not being able to make the tag, and I mean they're just.
Yep.
It's going to be a very hot tag when it happens.
So we got the blacked out arena up top, like you said. They had to. So it's Starrcade at the Omni in Atlanta drew 6,500. There, we finally got him. 6,500 paid tickets, but it was set up for 15,000. So it was the third largest live gate for WCW 92. So it's not a failure, but I'm not sure that with Upper Deck being $5 tickets and not sold, it would be considered a success either. So
you're right, man. Barry Windham's a big son of a bitch. I mean,
7'4".
I'm sticking over Steamboat.
I'm sticking to at least 7 feet. He's got to be. You can't tell me otherwise. So. Steamboat, like we said, kind of getting, I say the hot tag, but then getting his ass kicked now by Windham. Boy, maybe we need to get some more Barry Windham matches on here. Twitter, let us know what Barry Windham match you want us to cover because this guy, he's working hard out there. And so Pillman getting the tag as well, too, kind of going after everybody. Here we go. Yep. Oof. Dumping Steamboat to the outside, just taking the big bump there.
I'm trying to find some of the best Barry Windham matches ever.
Oh, look at this. Yep. Thank you. This is our quick. I wonder what you were looking at over there. It's watching you. So yeah, this is just always interesting. We've got some big ones lined up for the next couple of weeks. And so I want to remind everybody too, while we're here before this match, because we messed it up last time, before this match ends, remember 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. If you order now, you will still get it before Christmas. And so use our promo code that's payoff20, payoff20 to get 20% off and free shipping. That all kinds of good stuff for the holidays. Great deals as well, too. If you sign up for emails, you might even get some extra deals in your inbox as well, too, just before. So even if you don't buy, sign up for their newsletter and stuff like that. Tom and I tell you every single time, a new product comes out, Tom and I buy it. So, we don't have to be sold on this stuff anymore. I no longer buy the crappy, razors and shavers from other places or anything like that. Like these are the ones you want to use. They're absolutely worth it. Whether you start, whether you end 2021 and in your stocking, you got the Weed Whacker or 4.0 lawnmower, or whether, 2022 is going to be your year and you're going to start with clean balls. We want everyone to be happy and have access to this stuff. So using our promo code payoff20, free shipping, 20% off at manscaped.com.
So
what do you got, Tom? Yep.
Barry Windham wrestled on 7 different pay-per-views for WCW in 1999.
Wow.
He was part of that West Texas Rednecks with Kurt Hennig. They had that song Rap is Crap. So a lot of them were tag matches with Kurt Hennig. His last WWF match was Survivor Series 97. Also wrestled at WrestleMania 13. And then he was in the Rock's debut match as well. So 2 5-star matches in Windham's career.
Wow.
Okay. One of them was Wrestle War 92. It was Windham, Dustin Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, Ricky Steamboat, and Sting.
Wow.
In a War Games match, defeating Arn, Bobby Eaton, Larry Sabisco, Rick Rude, and Steve Austin.
Jesus.
Okay. Then another.
I got to check and see if we got that one on the list. I feel like we have to.
Yeah. And then another one was the 91. And that's the one we've already covered. That's the one we watched with Pillman Jr.
Got it.
In the 91 War Games. So 2 5-star War Games matches.
Interesting. You never know.
Belly to belly suplex 2, 3. There it is.
Got it. Yeah, there we got it.
Place going crazy, man. They love the match. Still your unified tag team champions, NWA, WCW. They get the win. Shane, I mean, dude, that's one of the best matches I've ever seen Shane work.
That was a lot. Yeah, that was,
He Ventura on commentary, screaming, great matchup, great matchup. All right, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right, so what'd you think?
This was great, actually. Again, I think I said it last week, kind of putting yourself back in the shoes of 1992 and kind of watching this and stuff. One, there was some pretty rough spots here, some stiff spots, some of these spots to the outside and things like that. And so I was pretty impressed with this. This was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So what do we have in the aftermath? Kind of what happened here. And so we'll talk about, so Barry Windham, the 7-foot+ giant, as I will now be referring to him as, he really started that 1993 as a singles wrestler, actually going after the NWA World Championship title. It was held with the great Muta at the time, defeated Muta at Super Bowl III to win that. And so then you had the returning Ric Flair at the time, and them going at it and having that. And so actually them trying to recruit Windham into the Four Horsemen, but not doing that because he was the lone wolf, if you will, and dealing with that. And so he ended up actually losing the belt to Flair at Beach Blast. And actually was hurt. So he disappeared for quite a while, actually about a better part of a year he was out. So Pillman, though, of course, this tag team of him and Barry Windham not lasting, like I said, for very long, with him, Windham going after the kind of singles and stuff like that. But this led to, of course, as we said, not too long after this, the tag team of a certain, I'll just say an up and comer. Tom, hopefully you know who this gentleman is, who he formed a tag team with. One, this would be quote stunning Steve Austin, forming a tag team of the Hollywood Blondes, and having that as well too. And so them actually beating Steamboat and Douglas for the championship. And so having that as well too. And then them having a feud, having that. And so they actually feuded with the Four Horsemen as well too. And so I wonder what happened. Like, we know what happened with Pillman. Hopefully this stunning Steve Austin guy, hopefully something played out with him and he worked out. So young up and comer. So we'll have to wait and see what happened there. So Steamboat, though, as well too, him actually was about a half a year later taking on Paul Orndorff and winning the World Television Championship. He actually lost the belt to Lord Steven Regal at the time at Fall Brawl. And so, yeah, they had some rematches in there, just kind of, having, going back, and him and Flair can't go wrong. And so, he had a feud with Flair as well too for the World Heavyweight Championship, with them having a match at Spring Stampede as well too. And then finally, Shane Douglas, actually having a rivalry with Pillman, and again, this up and comer stunning Steve Austin, and dealing with that. And so, and then, like we said, with the belts, and then really Douglas didn't really do a whole lot, then losing the titles, and then having a rivalry with Paul Orndorff. So not a ton happening and stuff like that. We know his story is, at this point was still yet to be written, but still good stuff though. So, so having the PWI 1992 coming ascending order here, you've got Ricky Steamboat at number 6, Barry Windham at number 13, Brian Pillman at 32, and Shane Douglas at a gentlemanly 245, one of the higher ones that we've ever had. So PW Torch, couldn't really find anything on this. It was the early years of the Torch, so there wasn't a whole lot out there on this one. But this was, according to the Observer newsletter, the best match of the night by a little bit. Sting and Vader, which is the match that just followed up after that one, just nipping at the heels on this one. So, but overall, Meltzer not super high on the card. But remember when the word Starrcade gave you thought of the best card of the year? Starrcade no longer means that, but it had more than enough good to qualify as a solid thumbs up in my book. And so, Steamboat and Shane Douglas retained the tag titles, beating Pillman and Windham. Good from bell to bell. Crowd was still in the doldrums from the previous match until Douglas drop kicked Pillman off the apron and Pillman caught his throat on the guardrail. However, right after Pillman drop kicked Douglas, who was on the top rope, and took a bump onto the floor, and Windham hit a vicious clothesline. Originally, because of the height difference between Pillman and Windham, looked like a mismatched team, but they were excellent here. Pillman has come a long way in a short time as a heel. Windham may have been the best performer on the entire show in the new heel role. Douglas took the heat for the long time. This, like I said, Douglas took the heat for a long time with many near falls on him. It wasn't until the 16-minute mark of a 20-minute match when Steamboat tagged in. Windham cut him off quickly with a power slam, like I said. Steamboat then took the heat for several minutes. Finally, Steamboat and Windham both tagged out, and it went into a four-way, and Douglas pinned Pillman with a belly-to-belly 4.25 stars. Tom, thoughts?
I'm going to steal your line. Gimmick infringement here.
Go for it.
I was sports entertained.
Yeah, all right. That's all right.
This was a damn good match. Really enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 7.
You never know. This one kind of, like, again, we didn't have a great reason for covering this match, but I'm really glad we did. I'm with you. I'm going to stick. You can, that's all right. Every once in a while, you got to steal the other guy's finisher to put on a show. So I'm okay with that. So you stealing my line, that's all right. And so that means, though, I have to steal your score and give the fans, that 50-50 booking. We don't want to mess around here. So I'm going to be a 7 as well too. I thought it was entertaining. And while for the time period and kind of what that was like, that was pretty good quality wrestling as well too. And there was a lot of things happening in the ring, and it was just a good to watch. And so that one. And so the match after this one, I turned it off because I have that one on our list to eventually cover as well too. But I think that this is one where, go back and watch this match and then stop and wait for us to cover the Sting Vader match that follows it. But I thought that this one was really good. I'm glad we did get the opportunity to talk about it.
Enjoyed it. Good one. Good work, partner.
Absolutely. So, Tom, everyone might be asking, when are we covering this next match? Well, actually, next week, leading up into Christmas, we are covering the Sting versus Vader Starrcade 1992. We're not leaving. We're covering this one next week as well, too. We're getting right into it. We're going first time, I think, that as long as we've been doing the show, we're going to back-to-back on the pay-per-view. I don't think we've ever had that. So I'm excited.
Never done that. You're right. We're doing that. And then we're ending the year with Seasons Beatings.
Yes, I'm very excited for this with Bret Hart.
That was a hell of a match. I remember it being awesome. I'm excited.
I think we're riding high on the Starrcade, and then I don't remember that Season's Beating match. That would have been In Your House 5, and so 1995.
Some say it was better than their match at Wembley, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to that, and then into the new year, we'll hold off on telling everybody what we got for the new year, but I'm excited. Let's finish 2021 strong and keep focused on that. So good stuff.
Sounds good. All right. Well, as always, thanks for listening. Reminder, last minute Christmas shopping, manscaped.com. Use payoff 20% off, free shipping. All their stuff's awesome. Great gifts. And we will see you next week on an all new episode of The Payoff.